Welcome to this episode of Samvadanam. This is Mridula Anand in conversation with Dr. Dinesh Soni. Dinesh Soni has been facilitated with over 40 awards, and many of them important ones, such as the Paul Harris Fellow recognition by Rotary International, Rotary Hero Award by Rotary Australia, Maheshwari Achievers Award by Yuva Maheshwari, Young Achiever Award by Rotaract International District 3132, etc. He has a vast work experience and is currently the head of the department at MIT College of Science and Computer Science Studies at Latur. He is a visiting faculty at MIT Jansanwad College, has been a trainer and HR associate at Marathwada. He has multiple publications under his belt. He's published close to 16 books so far on topics of psychometric testing, history and mythology, also effectiveness of psychometric testing as a toolkit for human resource management, psychometric testing, all that you want to know, Hanuman Chalisa, Marathi translation and detailed explanation of the Hanuman Chalisa. He has also participated in multiple social activities and has been a prolific researcher and documentarian. We welcome Dr. Dinesh Soni to this episode of Samvadanam.
Welcome to this Samvadanam. Samvadanam deals with not only the art of, multiple places, especially in India, but also the deep culture and heritage that each of these represent. Towards this, I am extremely honored to have Shri Dinesh Soni with us today, a veritable expert on a lot of temple architecture. And it's so wonderful to have you. And the fact that you're willing to spend this time with us to share your knowledge is something that we really deeply appreciate. Thank you, Dinesh ji, for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure for me as well to be part of this show.
Thank you so much. We are very keen to hear from you specifically on, some of the temple and culture of the Marathwada. But before we begin, can you give us a brief sort of an overview about, some historical background perhaps of this region, so we tend to understand where you are coming from?
Yeah. So Marathwada is basically part of South Central Maharashtra. It comprises of 8 geographical districts, 8 revenued states right now. And the place has histories ranging from 2nd century BCE. It was part of Dakshin Desh part of Satvana dynasty. There are special mentions of places like Bhogavardhan, Pratishthan, Tagar, Devpalli. These are the places that are mentioned in Satvana write-ups. So we can say this part was associated with that dynasty as well. Pratishthan actually used to be capital of Dakshin Desh of Satvahanas. After Satvahanas, Vakataka are said to have ruled this area in 3rd century. But there are not many evidences that are found of Vakatakas in this area.
I see.
After Vakatakas, Rashtrakutas have ruled this area. Rashtrakutas ruled here from 3rd century to almost up to the 10th century, so for 700 years almost. So there were places like Latur, Kandhar, Pratishthan. Pratishthan is today called as Paithan. Then Berul, that is Ellora. These were all the important places in Rashtrakuta region. So Rashtrakutas ruled here from 3rd century to 10th century. From 10th to 12th century, this part was under Chalukyas. There are many evidences available of Chalukya ruling this place. And especially Hottal and Ter were very important places during Chalukyas. After Chalukyas, Yadavas ruled from 12th to 13th century. Devgiri, current day Aurangabad, was their capital. And after 13th century, Alauddin Khilji attacked this area 3 times, 1294, 1304, and again 1315. So Alauddin Khilji attacked this area thrice, and after that, the area was totally under Muslim invaders, Muslim rulers, up till the end of their rule, that is up to 1947. Okay. In fact, this all region was also part of Nizam's geographical area.
Oh wow, that's very interesting. Coming from Hyderabad, the reach of the Nizams, which is fabulous because their extent of territory was huge.
Right.
And given that you talked about Khilji attacking and being under his rule, there must have been a lot of culture or architecture that was destroyed then, right? We must have lost quite a bit.
Yeah, right. Right, right. We have destroyed a lot of temples. Whatever remaining right now must be around 10% of what actually existed there.
Oh my
So what
God.
we have now is only 10% of whatever there was.
That is so unfortunate. That is so unfortunate. And
Yeah,
you're mentioning that,
yeah.
you know, we have a lot of evidences earlier. What sort of evidences?
Mm.
Like, where do you pick these or cull this information from?
Mm. Mostly there are evidences like stone inscriptions. On stone inscription, the rulers used to write whenever they used to give donation to a particular temple or a particular village. They used to give donation to, or they if they fought any war in that area, that was usually mentioned in the stone inscription. Apart from that, there are also some copper plates that are found in this region. There are some manuscripts of different books that are found. There are some evidences from different travelers who visited this area. So there are mentions of Tagar Nagar or Pratishthan in the write-ups of those travelers. Some European travelers or some travelers from China, they have visited these places. So those are all kind of evidences that we refer to mostly.
Fantastic. I mean, there are just so many sources
Yeah.
that you mentioned. So I'm sure, you know, your research involves going through so many of them. But which is very true because we sort of depend on a lot of traveler accounts. Honestly speaking, we don't have perhaps access to clear accounts from our country. But, you know, when travelers come, they sort of give it a vivid background, right? And
Yeah, exactly.
right, and they tell you a lot about the culture,
Yeah.
also the living conditions of people, and simple things like what was happening day to day, which is fascinating, especially, you know, as a dancer. When I look, a lot of these writers talked about the dancers at that point of time in south, so we get this visual imagery of what they used to do, and something like that I'm sure is available. But right now what you base upon is more on the existing sculptures, right? Whatever existing
Right.
temples that you have. So can you tell us a little bit about the temple architecture perhaps in the region?
Yeah, the region actually has many different kind of temples. We mostly know about the Ellora cave temple. Most of the temple lovers will know about
True.
Ellora cave temples. Yeah, so that is the UNESCO World Heritage Site, and that is based in a place called Veru, close to Aurangabad. So, along with that Ellora cave, there are many other cave temples in this region. So, when we talk about temples in our region, in Marathwada region, we have to start from the earliest stages, or the earliest temples. Those are cave temples. So apart from Ajanta and Ellora cave temple, there are many different caves. Like there is Kharosa caves in Latur district. There are Dharashiv caves in the present day Usmanabad district. There are Ambedokai caves in present day Beed district. In present day Nanded district, there are Seur caves, as well as there are some caves in Aurangabad city itself. There are Pitalkhora caves or Bhokardan caves. So there are many different kind of cave temples in this region. Most of those cave temples were built by Rashtrakutas between 3rd and say 7th centuries. And most cave temples are mix of Hindu as well as Buddha as well as Jain icons, or what we can say, idols. So they tell many stories from Hinduism, many stories from Buddhism, some stories from Jainism as well.
Right.
So it's kind of mix of all the three religions. And in fact, some of those caves are also attributed to Vakataka period. So, though there are not many evidences available, apart from some evidences in Ajanta caves, there are not many evidences available about Vakataka having built any of those caves. But some historians tend to provide some credit to them as well.
I'm
So after when yeah.
I'm sort of a little surprised. You seem to mention so many cave temples. But go ahead. My question will come a little later because this is intriguing.
No. No, you can ask the question.
Okay. So my question is then, we hear of a few, as you correctly said, Ellora and a few others are quite popular. So then what about the other cave temples? I mean, what is their condition, or what is the reason for them not coming into the limelight? Is it just the way they've been maintained, or they're destroyed? What is the issue?
There are actually there are a combination of issues. There are many cave temples, close to 500 cave temples in Maharashtra itself. Especially there was a dynasty called Andhra dynasty, or we also call them as Satvana dynasty. So they provided a lot of political support as well as financial support to building those caves. And most of the caves in Maharashtra as well as Telangana were built during those period. We can talk about the caves near Guntur, or the caves near Pune, Lonavala. There are caves in Mumbai as well. There are caves in close to Raigad district,
Okay.
close to Raigad Fort. There are also many caves. So most of those caves were built during those times. But what happened later was, firstly, they were not maintained properly. The local villagers did not take good care of those caves. So many of the sculptures or many of the idols are now very much have a lot of corrosion there. So we cannot clearly identify all the icons. Yeah, there, if some history lovers like me go there, they will easily identify most of the idols. But if a layman goes there and tries to see those caves, he won't be able to identify all those sculptures and idols. So that is one reason that the caves are not maintained properly. Apart from that, even the government is not very keen to have good care of those cave temples, because if we talk about Ajanta or Ellora or Elephanta, those are like Ellora is a mixture of more than 120 caves. There are more than 120 caves in that single complex. So that is a very important place from heritage point of view. But when we look at smaller cave temples like Seur, I mentioned in Nanded district, there are only
Correct.
3 or 4 caves. Yeah, in Kharosa, close to Latur, there are around 10 to 12 caves, and those are also, most of those caves are not very articulate in terms of arts and sculptures. So that's one reason. Firstly, there are not many travelers who are willing to visit those places. Secondly, they are not kept very well, and thirdly, the government as well is not really doing what it is to the extent they are supposed to maintain those caves. So it's a combination of all these reasons.
That's so unfortunate. Perhaps if they actually made a good plan of visiting these caves and maintaining them, there'll be more footfalls. People will know a lot more about these caves. There'll be more people coming in and out. But honestly, I also feel a lot of the public are not responsible in public monuments, because
Yeah,
they themselves,
right.
they scratch their name. I was here, or they draw something graffiti. That's very unfortunate.
Yeah,
They realize we'll never get those sculptures back, or even those temples back. Once you lose it, it's very difficult. And so the current situation basically of these temple caves are quite, most of them are in derelict condition, but a few that have like uh,
yeah,
some national view, they are generally maintained much better, right? And
yeah. They are generally limited.
yeah, which is very unfortunate, I think, because a lot of us actually have not even heard of half these caves that you mentioned right now. And I'm sure,
Right.
it's not the lack of interest, but it's also a lack of the ease of visiting these caves, because, you need uh,
Yeah,
some sort of an itinerary or a journey to visit these caves. Plus, you need to have some knowledge of the region, because once you walk into a temple,
exactly.
yeah, as you said, you can
Mhm.
identify, but when a goes in like me, we most probably will not connect with half the sculptures, or not understand, because they would have been defaced or broken, right? So
Yeah,
it's also very unfortunate. But can you also mention a little bit about, the various sculptures that can be seen, in the temple walls, or even in the pillars, or even in the caves in that particular
yeah,
region, given that
yeah,
you're able to understand those sculptures much better?
yeah. Actually, while I was talking about cave temples, I missed one point. Just a couple of weeks ago, there are some 7 to 8 caves that were identified in Devgiri Fort. Of India have identified 8 caves that were not known so far. So they
Oh,
are doing also some research there. If we talk about the sculptures that are in this area, before that, I would actually go through some other temples. I will mention some other temples as well. Is it okay?
yes, absolutely. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So while we were talking about cave temples, so that was the era from 3rd to 7th century. So if we now have to look at the temples that were built up after the 7th century, so I would first like to mention one place called Ter. It's a part of Usmanabad district. Not many people know about this place. In fact, not even the local people know about the temples or the heritage they have. So it's a very small village close to on the banks of Terna River in Usmanabad, present day Usmanabad district. What happened was there were few European travelers, or before them there was a traveler from Egypt. who traveled all the way in India in the first or second century probably. And he had mentioned a few places in his write-up. So in 19th century, there was one particular researcher, Dr. Kazins. He came to this region trying to identify the places that were mentioned in that book. So in 19th century, he came to a small, very small village called Ter, and there he discovered many ancient temples that were existing in that village.
Oh.
And after that, also some excavations took place in that area. Many sculptures were also later discovered during those excavations. So this is the only place in our region, in Marathwada region, where we still see a temple built by Satvahan area, because Satvahanas were mostly associated with cave temples. They did not build many standalone temples that in that times. But there is one particular temple called Trivikram Temple that is present at this place. Trivikram Temple is an upside temple, and that is only one of the only two temples that are still existing in India of this architecture. Another one being in Guntur district. There is one temple in Guntur district, and the other is in Ter. So there are only two upside temples, and this particular temple is also said to be the oldest standalone temple of Maharashtra.
Oh,
Oldest freestanding structure in Maharashtra. Yeah. But unfortunate thing is not even many local people know about this temple. Also, there is another temple, Uttareshwar Temple, that is also from the same era, that is 5th to 6th century. And this temple has oldest wooden artwork in India.
Oh my God! And
the first reference to, yeah, it still exists. Yeah, the wooden artwork. Yeah, the wooden artwork has been kept in the museum right now. It's not available in the temple, but it still exists. It has been still taken care of. And also, the world's oldest gold Ganesh idol has been found in excavation in Ter village itself.
It's fantastic.
So, yeah, it's fantastic. And the very unfortunate thing is, not many people even who live in that particular village know about the heritage they have. The place is only 50 kilometers from my place, from my town. And even I did not know about this place until I started exploring temples. I did not know about this place. Yeah.
No, but it's really nice, no? At least the amount of interest that you have to discover these areas or even these temples, at least the step has been taken now. That I think we should at least appreciate. The fact that you're looking at these temples.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, you're discovering them.
Exactly.
Otherwise, I think it would have just been disregarded as some old structure, not even seen the beauty of how old it is, right?
Right.
I remember when I'd gone on some foreign travel and somebody suddenly stopped and they said, oh, you know how old this building is? It's 70 years old. And I was about to say, you know how many 1,000-year-old buildings we have. But the fact that they are able to point something there to that's something that is, you know what, relatively old for them, and to maintain it and to take pride in it. That is something that we distinctly have lost over a period of years.
Exactly.
Centuries.
Exactly. Yeah. But one good thing about this village, this particular village that I was mentioning there, is that there was one person called Mr. Lamture, and even before the government took up some excavations, or Deccan College took up excavation there, even before that, many people would used to find some small idols or stone sculptures in those in the farms when they used to do farm, when they used to do any digging in their farms. They used to find many things, and most of those people were not really keen on identifying what it is. They just used to say, "Ha, koi to purani cheez mili hai," that's it. And there was one particular person called Lamture who used to collect all these things. Even he wasn't very sure about its importance, but he used to think that yes, this, if it is somewhere underground, it has to be something important. Maybe someday someone will come. Maybe someday someone will come asking for them, and that time I would be a hero for them. So he used to collect all those things. He kept all those things very safely. And when government started excavating that area, when researchers started to come there, he invited one of those researcher to his home, and he showed, see, I have all these things. I have all these things with me. And that was the time the government realized, oh my God, this place is so old. This place is so ancient. And we have so much heritage here. So after that, all those things were taken over by government. They kept very safely in a museum. And the museum is named after that particular person, Mr. Lamture.
Oh, that is so wonderful. And so just sheer luck that he decided to collect all this But what is wonderful is that he decided to collect and keep it. Perhaps he didn't realize how old, or the knowledge of how ancient.
Yeah, exactly.
People. But the fact that he even kept it safe instead of throwing it by the side, saying that it's some old idol, it's broken, or it's gone, it doesn't matter. That is some blessing, I think, that came for that region also, right? And now when it tells you stories, right? It didn't mean anything to him, but to you it tells you stories, right?
Right. So ahead from the Ter or the early Satvahana temples. So after Satavahanas, Vakataka are said to have ruled this region, but there are not many evidences. So we can skip the sculpt. In fact, there are no structures that were built from Vakataka in this region. So the second way of building temples actually that are still visible are, so those are from 10th to 12th centuries, and those are from Chalukya temples, the temples built by Chalukyas. So those are mostly in Nagara style architecture, and they are made from stones with sculptures on walls and pillars. So there are not many temples that are still available from this area, from this era, Chalukya architecture, but there are few available, and those that are available right now can be divided in two parts. There were some temples that were built in early times of Chalukyas, so they used to have only one Garbhagriha, and the temples that were built in later part of Chalukyas used to have three Garbhagrihas that were connected to a single mandapa, single Baya mandapa. So if we talk about a few temples from this era, there is one temple in Anwa, that is in Jalna district. There is a Kedareshwar Temple in Dharmapur in Bid district of today's days. There is a Vitthal Temple in Pangaon, that is in Latur district. There is Aundanangnath. Aundanangnath is rather popular in Shaiva tradition because it's considered to be one of the 12 Jyotirlingas. So that's why Aundanangnath is a little known to many people. But the other temples like Siddheshwar and Someshwar in Huttal, that is close to Maharashtra and Telangana border. There is a temple called Dharasur in a place called Dharasur in Parbhani district. So all these temples are not really very much known. And if we see the temples that have three Garbhagrihas, there is a temple called Nilkanteshwar in Nilanga, that is close to Maharashtra Karnataka border. There is a temple of Kankaleshwar in Bid. There is a temple in Umarga, Manikeshwar, or Vadeshwar, Keshavpuri. These are very magnificent, very beautiful temples that have a very grand model. There are three different Garbhagrihas that are connected to one common Baya Mandapa. So the temples are very grand, the temples are very beautiful, but unfortunately not many people know about those temples. And after 12th century, after Chalukyas, there was a time of Yadavas. So Yadavas have built some temples, they are very similar in style with the Chalukya era temples. But only difference is there are not much decoration on outer walls, on the pillars. There were only single Garbhagrihas, single Mandapas, and those were the temples that were built by Yadavas. And after in the later part of Yadava, in 14th century, there was a Pradhan called Hemadri Pant. He was the prime minister in Yadava's Darbar, and he developed a distinct style of building temples. This style is today known as Hemad Panthi. It's known after the person Hemadri Pant. Yeah. So even in Telangana, you see a lot of Hemad Panthi temples because Yadavas have also ruled a wide area in Telangana as well. So in Marathwada, we can see Amleshwar, Sakhaleshwar, Kholeshwar. These are the three temples in Ambedokai town in Bid district. There is a temple of Narsiha in Raher in Nanded district, and a temple of Nagnath in Pali in today's Bid district. So these are various temples that are built by Yadavas in this region. So on a broader scale, if we want to divide those temples, we can divide them as cave temples of that were built in Satvahana era. Then the early Chalukya temple with single Garbhagriha and single one or more mandapas. Then third part, we can say later Chalukya temples that had three Garbhagrihas and grand Bhaya mandapa. And then comes Yadava and Hemad Panthi temples. Those were with single Garbhagriha, single mandapa, and not much of sculptures.
Not much of stuff.
So that's the wide, yeah.
I mean, this makes it much clearer. But I just have a question. Is there any documentation, any reason why the Chalukyas, starting from one Garbhagriha, started to make it 3? Was it because they wanted to, was some particular reason that was mentioned, or do we know?
Actually, there isn't any specific written material available for this reason. But what is commonly believed, there are 2 different theories. First theory is that when Chalukya started to build temples, and also there was a lot of political stability in this region. They had a friendship with all the kings that surrounded their region. So there was a lot of political stability. So probably they wanted to build something bigger than that they were already building. So maybe that is the one reason. The second reason that is said, there was some what we can say, we cannot say fight or quarrel, but there were some cold wars between Vaishnavas and Shaivas. Shaivas were those who used to worship Shiva, and Vaishnavas were those who used to worship Vishnu in different forms. So what Chalukya started to do, they in order to unite all these people together, in order to bring all of them together, they started to build temples that were dedicated to both Shiva as well as Vishnu. So most of those temples with 3 Garbhagrahas, they used to have different idols of Vishnu as well as Devi, that is Shakti, as well as Shiva. So Shiva, Shakta and Vaishnava, all of them were brought together. Not many of those idols are still available. Some of them were stolen, some of them were destroyed. But in a temple called Nilkanteshwar in Nilanga, it's in Latur district, close to my place. So there are different, there are idols of Gauri Maheshwar, that is Mahesh, that is Shiv, along with Gauri, they are sitting together, and there is one idol. And in the same temple, there is a very grand idol of Vishnu as well. So Vishnu idol is kept in one Garbhagraha, and Gauri and Gauri Shankar Mahesh idol is kept in Gauri Mahesh. Gauri Mahesh idol is kept in second Garbhagraha, and in third Garbhagraha there is an idol of Mahishasura-Mardini. So there is one idol of Shakti, the Devi. So this could be a reason they wanted to bring together all these 3 pantha, all these 3 type of people. They wanted to bring all of them together.
Right.
So that could be a reason. Yeah.
Very interesting, because
just give me a second.
Sure.
Kai beta?
Yeah. No, it's wonderful. And this is very interesting, because even the Yadava temples you mentioned are very simple, and without too much of designs on the pillars or motifs and stuff like that. So you see how they're I don't know, over a period of time you see such different structures, such different artistry depending on the time of the artistry that was available, right? And Yadavas were supposed to be simple clans as well, so perhaps the artistry was not that rich that they wanted to, or perhaps their kingdom itself was not that rich to promote this sort of a thing. So it's so interesting, because it's such a nice handholding of history. And if we just dig a little deeper, learn so much.
The actual reason what many of us believe is that there was no political stability in Yadava times, because when Yadava started to rule, very soon there were a lot of invasions started to happen. In fact, Alauddin Khilji himself attacked the region thrice during Yadava region, and after third attempt he took over the control of this area. So the lack of political stability is considered to be the prime reason why the temples built during Yadavas were so low profile. In fact, many of the temples that were built during Yadava region were not also very much heighted. They used to be small structures, small in terms of height, so that they wouldn't be visible from long distances. Because the Muslim invaders used to destroy a lot of temples. Also, some of those temples didn't even have shikhar over their Garbhagraha. There used to be only a flat surface or a very small shikhar on those temples. Many of those temples have shikhars built during later times.
This is fascinating. I mean, what a way to adapt to very difficult circumstances, right? But still maintain your culture and heritage. That is so fascinating. It's really interesting to see that. So you mentioned that this person had found all these idols. He had kept it very safe. Thankfully for him, we got so much of the rich culture that was available, but they had kept it in a museum named after him. What about some of the other museums in that region? Do they also have these wonderful artifacts? Were they able to also maintain them? Is there some places where people can actually go visit and say,
Yeah.
God, this is such a rich culture that we have missed out on?
There are a couple of museums in Aurangabad. Aurangabad is supposed to be a tourism capital of Maharashtra. There are many interesting places in that region, like Ajanta Ellora caves. Those are UNESCO World Heritage Site. Even Bibi Ka Maqbara and some other places as well. So in Aurangabad, Archaeological Survey of India maintains some very good museums. Apart from Aurangabad, there is one museum in Ter, a small village that I earlier mentioned. So apart from Ter and Aurangabad, I don't think there are many museums available in that region. Actually, when I started to visit those temples and explore the area, I have come across more than 150 to 200 artifacts that are just laying openly in the rain and around the temple. There are many such idols that are just lying around the temple. In fact, there is a very beautiful temple, Dharmapuri, in a small village called Dharmapuri. And when I visited there, I saw a very beautiful Narsimha idol that was just laying on the ground. And it was, I mean, I don't know how to say it. It was so neglected, so neglected. It was lying there on the ground, and just around 150 to 100 meters from there, people used to go there for toilet. That was a place where people go for toilet in the morning. So it was in such a neglected stage, and the idol is very beautiful. I even had a temptation to just pick up the idol and bring it to my home and keep it with me, but I thought it won't be ethical on my part. So what I did, I contacted Archaeological Survey of India along with photographs of that temple and how the idols were lying around. And after that, Maharashtra government allotted some fund. The temple has been renovated, and now the temple is in very good shape. All the idols have been placed respectfully in the temple. But that's just one temple. If we talk other temples, the idols are still lying around. There are hundreds of small temples where if we started to collect, there would be more than 1,000 different idols that will be available. And yes, some of those idols you earlier asked a question about various sculptures that are found in this region, and I'm able to answer that. So there are various Vishnu idols from Vishnu Avatar. There are Narsimha Avatar. There are idols. There are idols of Rama, Krishna, as well as Matsya, Kurma Avatar, Varaha Avatar. All those avatars, all those idols are available. There are many Gauri Mahesh statues that are lying in different regions of this area. There are Yakshi idols, even Shalabhanjikas, Apsaras, Patralikikas. Even those idols, those sculptures can be seen on different temples as well as lying around. There's most of the temples have Saptamatrikas as well as Ganesh statue, Brahma statue, or a statue of Veerbhadra. There are many stories of Ramayana, Mahabharata, Purana that are mentioned on the walls and the temples, temple pillars as well. There are some Surya idols as well, Surya Murtis. Those are found in various temples. And there are some Mithun Shilpas, Shilpa of couple. There are Ghatpallas. Ghatpalla is like what, I don't know the English word. It's in today's day we use a pot in which we keep water.
Yes.
For the worship. Yeah. So that's basically what Ghat Pallava is. So many kings used to carve those pot in sculpture as well as in temple pillars. There are many also Kirti Mukhas are many seen at many temples. There are especially Sati Shiva and Virgal. They are very abundantly found in different villages, different temples in this region. And all of those idols, all of those sculptures are just lying around in different under a tree or somewhere in a corner of a temple, or sometimes even laying around in farms.
Oh my God.
So that's the position in the region today.
But there has been some effort to try and get them into proper temples, or make sure that they are not lost. So is that effort going on strongly, or that requires a lot more, I guess, people and
it requires a lot more attention, because just let me give you an example. There's a small place, a small village called Bhada. It's close to my place, Latur. And from one friend, I heard that there are many virgas in that kept outside a temple in that region, in that village. So I went to that place to find out those temples, those virgas, as well as there are some inscriptions, stone inscription also. I was told about. And when I visited that village, I started to look around for those virgas. I visited different temples in that village, and I could not find anything. So then I started to ask villagers about the virgas that were there. So first of all, not many people knew what virgar means. So I have to describe them. I have to show them photographs of different kind of virgas that I had seen in other places. So after asking about around 10 to 15 people, one of them told me that yes, we had some 20-30 stones like this, and we used those stones for constructing the temple. So they actually broke all those stones, and they used that
oh my God,
that to build the temple. Yeah. So that is kind of how people are taking care. There, I mentioned about a place called Dharmapuri, where a temple has been recently renovated. So there is another temple close to that Kedareshwar Temple that has been renovated. There is another temple that is locally known as Malla Siddheshwara Temple, or Maradshid as they are locally called. So I used to visit that temple when I was a young child, around 7 to 8 years old. I used to go there because my maternal grandfather's place was close by to that place. So I used to visit that temple, but that time I wasn't very much interested in those temple architecture or temple history or anything. So when I started to grow interest in those temple architectures and all, I started to visit all those places that I had earlier visited. So when I visited that temple, Maral Siddheshwar Temple, I also asked my mom to join me. And when my mom joined me there, and when she visited that temple, she looked around the temple, and first thing that she said, there used to be 5 or 6 very beautiful idols around this at these places. So those idols are missing now. So when my mom was some 20-30 years old, so that means around 30 years ago, there used to be a lot of idols that were kept there, but today they are not anywhere to be seen. So maybe they have been stolen. Someone must have smuggled them outside the country, or maybe they are in private collection of some person. We don't know. So there are many such examples.
For all you know, they could have been completely broken down and thrown somewhere else, or used for something else wrongly also. Unfortunately, that's something that we have to look out for these days.
Exactly. So when we talk about how people are taking care of those monuments, it's in pathetic shape. People are not really very keen in taking good care of these places. In fact, to cite another example, there is a taluka place called Ambedokai. It has been very rich in terms of cultural heritage. They have a lot of ancient temples, cave temples. There used to be some poets in that region in 12th or 13th century. So culturally, they are very much rich and diverse. So there is one place called Sakhaleshwar Temple. There is a very small temple and broken down temple in that village, in that town rather, not village. So recently, someone was trying to dig that area for cleaning up the temple. And while cleaning, he came across a stone idol, a small stone idol in that region. So immediately he informed their village town heads, or other political leaders were informed, and they immediately brought some JCB machines, and they started to dig around all the area around that temple. So they started to dig it with JCB machines. So after 2 or 3 days, some local journalists got to know about that, whatever was happening. They clicked some photos and then published a news in local newspapers. And after that, Archaeological Survey of India got to know, they immediately stopped the work. And this, what the Archaeological Survey of India officer said, if they would have continued this work for 2 or 3 more days, the whole structure would have collapsed. The existing structure as well would have collapsed, because the vibrations that the JCB machine does, and the way the base of the temple would have been broken, so the whole structure would have collapsed. So now ASI has taken up the job of excavation there, and they have so far found around 20 to 25 idols there. They have found basement of the old temple that existed there. So as the excavation progresses, we are hopeful that we will find many things there.
Oh my God. And it's just, I don't think the village meant any harm, but look at the fact that
Yeah,
you don't know how to preserve something, you might actually harm it more than you help it. So it's
exactly.
important to reach out to the people who actually know how to do these things, right?
Right, right.
And it's very interesting. You've mentioned so many beautiful examples, so many temples, so many structures that should be visited but are not. But I don't understand, or most of us don't. What are the modes of transport then to actually go? How do we visit these places? Is there some sort of a
Yeah.
structure in it?
The first thing is that we should do as a history lovers. We should create a listing, probably a list of places that could be visited. And if we talk about the modes of transport, the area is well connected to by train through all parts of country. There are trains running through to Nanded, to Latur, to Aurangabad, or even Solapur is a prime junction on Mumbai Chennai Mumbai Hyderabad railway line. So Solapur is also close by to these all these places. So there are many modes of transport in terms of railway. There are railway abilities from all different parts of countries. So that is one thing. Secondly, when you want to visit all those places, local area, once you get down from train, so there are buses going to all these places. You can also rent a cab or hire a car in the region, and they can take you to these places. But one unfortunate thing is that not many people are well aware of those heritage sites. Not many car drivers might be aware of those parts. So firstly, you need to have concise data about which places you want to visit, the route for that. And of course, I am always here for help. I can also provide my contact number in the description, and anyone can contact me if you want to visit the area. And there are many history lovers who are now doing research in all parts of the region. There are some history lovers in Nanded, some in Latur, some in Ter. There are many in Aurangabad. So they all of us will be very happy, very eager to help out whoever wants to visit this area. So that's one thing. In fact, there were some articles also published. Yeah. One historian, Saili Palande, she visited most of those temples, and she published some Marathi articles in newspaper called Lokmat. So I will request her to share links of all those articles. So that could provide a lot of idea to those who want to visit the area.
Absolutely. And it's very kind of you to actually, offer your help, because unless we have people who will be able to show us where to go or tell us the importance of what we are seeing, a lot of it will be lost on common people. So it's really important that, learned people, historians, interested people like you who have a knowledge of all of whatever places that are, very, very important from a historical perspective, and also from a perspective of being interested in just knowing the art and culture and heritage of any region. I think that's a wonderful offer that you've made. And it's been amazing, because this travel has sort of opened our eyes to say, oh my God, look at so many things that are available. So many things that we have lost. I think that's an important point that you keep bringing up again and again, that we have lost a lot of things because we have not been careful enough, or we have not been aware enough. And I think, kudos to a lot of people like you who are working in this field. And I just hope that there is a lot more wealth and treasure that you're able to preserve, so that people, common people, are able to come and see what they've actually missed. So I cannot thank you enough. It's been so wonderful. And not only that, it's been so generous of you to sit and share all this information and say that, I will be there to help as well. So I don't think that we can thank you enough, but I really thank you so much, Dinesh ji. It was such a pleasure.
It has been a pleasure for me as well to share my knowledge and my information with you, as well as all of your visitors. In fact, I also went through your channel. I saw earlier interviews that you have taken, and it's a wonderful channel. I will also request all those who are watching this video to subscribe to channel and keep yourself updated with the videos that are coming up.
That's so kind of you. Yes, my small work to try and document a lot of people's thoughts also and information, because one thing that we learn is by talking to people. Because I always assume the person I'm talking to knows a lot more than me. So it's a great learning.
Yeah, it's never like that. Everyone has knowledge from different fields.
Absolutely.
Everyone has good knowledge. Yeah.
Absolutely. And only when you talk to them, you understand so much from their perspective. So every day is always a learning. So thank you so much, Dineshji, and thank you for spending your time with us and with Samvadanam as well. Thank you.
The pleasure is all mine. Thank you.